Want to find out how 3 prisoners escaped from one of the most secure prisons in the United States? Alcatraz Prison has long had a reputation for being escape-proof, but in June 1962, Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin proved that escape was possible. Join us in this mysterious adventure immediately after the opening theme. Oh no, it seems as though the opening theme is escaped. So my old sports, this is EdDevelop, where you will find the best scientific and similar curiosities. Subscribe and activate the notification bell to enrich your day every time we upload a new video, and consider our Patreon. Find the link below in the description. Now, it is time for the fun parts. The most feared prison in the world. Have you ever heard of Alcatraz? I'm sure you have. For many years, this maximum security prison was home to some of the most notorious and dangerous criminals in the history of the United States. Names like the famous gangster of the 1920s, Al Capone, also known as Scarface, Machine Gun Kelly, famous kidnapper and extortionist, or Robert Stroud, aka the Alcatraz Birdman, who was arrested for murder. There were a lot of dangerous people here, but why were the most dangerous prisoners sent to Alcatraz? What made this place so special? Alcatraz Island, also known as The Rock, is located more than a mile off the coast of San Francisco. It was discovered in 1775 by Spaniard Juan Manuel de Ayala, who called it the Island of the Alcatraces. Over time, it became a military installation, then a military prison, and finally, in 1963, a federal penitentiary. At first glance, Alcatraz looks like a small island where you can spend a nice weekend with friends. At least if you manage to ignore the huge building that looks like an abandoned ghost place. But don't be fooled. The closest point to land on Alcatraz was more than a mile away from the island, so you would have to swim that distance to escape. Also, the water was very cold, only 10 degrees Celsius, and it was said to be full of great white sharks, and that's if you managed to get out of the facility. When it became a federal prison, all the buildings on Alcatraz had to be reinforced with concrete. Sounds crazy to try to escape from a place like that, doesn't it? Well, believe it or not, a lot of people have tried, old sport. Escape attempts. Can you imagine a prisoner being that creative? Well, if you can't, rest assured that's about to change. At least 36 men have tried to escape from Alcatraz. The first to try was a man named Joseph Bowles, who was shot by a guard. Another, John Gillis, had spent more than 10 years collecting scraps of cloth to make a sergeant's uniform that would allow him to escape. And believe it or not, he almost made it. Unfortunately for him, when he tried to escape in an official boat, he was identified and sent back to prison. Another great escape attempt happened in 1946 when a prisoner named Bernard Coy noticed that the bars of his cell were not as close together as the others. Can you imagine what he did? He stopped eating, just like that. Coy began eating less and going on an extreme diet, all without the guards noticing, to get thin enough to fit between the bars of his cell. Hey, wait! Now's the time. Subscribe to the channel to be entertained while learning. It's free! He then beat one of the guards to get the keys away from him and free the others. And he succeeded. He freed everyone in his block, even though the keys he stole could not open the entire block. There was a fight for almost 2 days in which several people died, until finally Coy and his associates were locked up again and some were sentenced to death. None of these attempts worked. However, my old sports, there is a mysterious story that could have ended well for the prisoners. The escape of Frank Morris and the Anglin Brothers. Frank Morris was the mastermind of the escape. He was admitted to Alcatraz in 1960 and began planning his escape from day one. He discovered that the ventilation grate in his cell and the wall where the grate was located were not very strong. He understood that if he did things right, he could open a hole and escape through it. It appears that Morris was a very intelligent man with an IQ of 133. He enlisted the help of brothers John and Clarence Anglin and a fourth man named Alan West to assist him in his plans. But what plans? What did they do to escape? Well, here we approach the most incredible part of this story. First, they took it upon themselves to slowly erode the delicate areas of their cells using nail clippers and other simple tools. Each prisoner on Alcatraz had a single personal cell, and in the hallway behind Morris and his group cells was an unguarded corridor 0.91 meters wide. The goal was to get there. But they didn't just use nail clippers. Their creativity in finding their freedom was incredible. In addition to nail clippers, they used a silver soldered spoon from a dime, and even made a makeshift drill out of a stolen vacuum cleaner to break through. How is it possible that no one heard the drill. The inmates took advantage of the prison's music hours to cover up the noise, which was not uncommon since Alcatraz, although one of the most secure prisons of its day, provided some entertainment for its inmates. In fact, did you know that a musical band called the Rock Islanders was formed on Alcatraz? That's right, as unbelievable as it sounds, this band actually existed and was led by inmate Harry L. Lehu. But let's get back to the escape. The most incredible thing is yet to come. The paper heads. The prisoners planned their escape route by using the ventilation ducts and making their way to the exit. They also built an inflatable raft and secretly collected more than 50 stolen raincoats over several weeks. But most surprising of all were the heads. Yes, the heads. The prisoners made a pair of mannequins out of paper mache and hair stolen from barbershops. The heads were quite convincing, even though they were only made of paper mache, soap, and human hair stolen from the prison barbershop. They then left them on their beds to distract the guards while they prepared their escape. The mystery of the escape. The official version is that the fourth companion, Alan West, did not arrive at the rendezvous point in time, so he retraced his steps and alerted the authorities, who went looking for the escapees, but they never found them. There are many theories and mysteries about what happened to the escapees. Prison guards and authorities believe that they drowned while trying to escape and that their bodies were never found. However, there are versions that make us believe that things did not happen that way. It's believed that remains of their presence, especially some belongings, were found on Angel Island, the largest island in San Francisco Bay. There are many theories. The closing of Alcatraz. Alcatraz prison has long been criticized for the harsh conditions the prisoners suffered, such as the prohibition of talking outside of meal and recreation times unless first approved by a guard. It was seen as a place of confinement and discipline rather than a rehabilitation center for prisoners. In addition, it was very expensive to keep a prisoner on Alcatraz, almost 3 times more expensive than any other prison in the United States. Because of its location on an island, the salt wind and humidity greatly increased maintenance costs, leading to its closure. Since then, the prison system is focused more on rehabilitation and preparing inmates for re-entry into society. The mysteries of Alcatraz. Although more than 50 years have passed, the mystery of the 3 men who escaped from the most secure and dangerous prison of their time continues to be a topic of conversation around the world. Many people believe that they died and their bodies were eventually lost in the sea, but there are other theories that try to disprove this. Did you know that there's a story of a man who said his name was John Anglin, who called a law firm the day after the escape to make an appointment, but when the secretary refused, he hung up and never showed up again? Other theories claim that the men actually fled to Central or South America to start new lives under false identities. There are even those who believe that this escape was nothing more than a trap, perhaps designed to make the prisoners who lost their lives inside the facility disappear. Do you think any of the alleged ghosts in Alcatraz prison could be one of these men? Today, Alcatraz is a tourist attraction that attracts more than 1.5 million visitors from around the world and is part of the U.S. National Parks program. We will probably never know what happened to these men and whether their fate was to end up in a watery grave or start a new life elsewhere in the world. What do you think, my old sports? Which theory is your favorite? That's all for today. Don't forget to like and share, and we'll see you in the next video.